So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the important cycles that happen in the environment, and then we'll expand on them later in later videos. So the first one is the water cycle, and here I've drawn the sun here, and it's going to evaporate oceans and rivers and lakes, and it's going to make clouds up here, which I've shown up here, the clouds up here. And then later on, the clouds are going to come over to the land and rain. Make some clouds over here too, which they will run down again to the lakes, the rivers, and the ocean in the process. And that's why they call it a cycle, because it's just basically just going in a cycle. And so, and the driving force is essentially the sun. The sun evaporating everything makes the clouds rain down, it all runs back down to the rivers and the lakes and the ocean again. The next one is called the oxygen-carbon cycle. And here again, the main driving force is the sun here. The sun produces energy in the form of light, okay? And there is carbon dioxide in the air around the earth, okay? And so plants, through a process called photosynthesis, take in carbon dioxide and light and make oxygen and carbohydrates, okay? And the carbohydrates are the energy source. And then cows eat the plants plus the oxygen that the plants made. And then humans, we eat the cow plus the oxygen that the plants made. Okay, then humans breathe out carbon dioxide, the cow breathes out carbon dioxide, and ultimately that goes back to the start again. Carbon dioxide plus light makes more plants. And so again, it's a cycle. And if you guys have studied any chemistry, you know, carbon dioxide is composed of one carbon atom plus two oxygen atoms, and oxygen is just two oxygen atoms. And so again, we have a cycle of basically carbon dioxide going out to oxygen, and then going back in again. And the carbon part is the carbon dioxide basically is getting recycled from carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. Okay. The next one is the nitrogen cycle. So air is about 78% nitrogen. So if we draw the chemical symbol for nitrogen, that's N2, and it's about 21% oxygen. Okay. And so we're talking about the nitrogen cycle here. It says all living things need nitrogen. And when we're talking about nitrogen, mostly what we're talking about is protein, you know, because the protein that you eat is, a large part of it is nitrogen atoms. This is nitrogen right here. And so plants need nitrogen to grow, because they're going to want to make proteins for their processes. And so we have nitrogen in the air that eventually, if we follow this line right here, let me change it to red. If we follow this line, it gets turned into nitrates, what the plants can absorb. We'll put absorb here. And the plants make protein out of the nitrates. And then the animals eat it. Animals eat the plants, and they make animal protein, okay? But the in-between parts is basically you have nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and they can take nitrogen, and there's also other bacteria that can take dead plants and animals and convert that into ammonia. And then there's more bacteria that convert it into nitrates, and nitrites, and then eventually there's other bacteria that convert it to nitrates. And there's also some bacteria that can take that nitrites, I should say right here, and convert it into nitrogen, which goes back into the atmosphere. So ultimately you have this animal protein, which cycles back into being, when the animal dies, to becoming by decomposers, which are things that break down higher forms of carbohydrates and proteins and things like that. They recycle it back in. So we have the nitrogen gas, or the dead and decaying plants and animals basically being broke down by decomposers into ammonia, which gets basically cycled into nitrates. But the overall process is nitrogen going to nitrites, going to protein. And then it just recycles again in a big cycle from nitrogen to protein and back.